stop scrolling. Listen. Not with one ear while your mind wanders, but really listen. If you want the life you keep promising yourself, if you're tired of good intentions that evaporate at the first obstacle, then lean in. Desire is not a soft feeling. It is a fuel. It is a decision. And if you learn to control it, you will direct the currents of your life instead of being swept by them. Desire is often misunderstood as whim or craving. People reduce it to wanting something and then complain when it fades. That's because they confuse desire with impulse. An impulse is a spark, a distraction. A true desire is an ignition system that, when wired correctly, powers steady action. Here's the difference. Impulses make you scroll, binge, postpone. Purposeful desire makes you plan, endure, and return when you fail. The one goes nowhere, the other builds. I want you to feel a sharp truth. Nothing happens without wanting first. Every invention, every art, every empire begins as a private hunger. Napoleon Hill taught that the starting point of achievement is desire, not shallow wanting, but a burning, rationale-driven hunger that refuses to be talked out of. That hunger is not mystical. It's neurochemical and strategic at the same time. It shows up as emotion in the chest because emotion compels movement, but it also shows up as a persistent mental picture you revisit again and again. So let's start by clarifying the anatomy of desire. There are 3 parts you must know and learn to use: the spark, the map, and the machine. The spark is the emotional charge. It's that quickening in your body and the electric focus in your mind when an idea attaches to meaning. Sparks are short-lived unless you connect them to something concrete. If your spark is vague, like "I want to be rich" or "I want to be happy," then it will dissipate. Specificity is the first discipline. Make the spark a precise target. How much? By when? Doing what? The map is your reasoning over the spark. It turns longing into a sequence. The map is the answer to what must change in your day, your habits, your environment. This is where imagination becomes a practical tool. Earl Nightingale reminded people that we become what we think about, but I want you to use that idea as a workshop, not a slogan. Imagination allows you to rehearse outcomes, to prototype steps in your mind before you act. It reduces friction. If you rehearse a meeting in your head, your actions become sharper, less scattered. The machine is your routine, your repeated, boring, stubborn behaviors. Desire without a machine is fireworks, bright for a moment, gone the next night. The machine is the habit architecture that channels your energy day after day. It's small, repeated actions that stack into results. You need to design that machine before your enthusiasm fades, because most of us are brilliant at starting and terrible at continuing. Decide now what your machine will be. 5 sentences written before lunch, 1 hour of focused work in the morning, 3 calls a week to build relationships, whatever aligns with your target. Now understand that desire lives in 2 brains, the conscious planner and the subconscious operator. Your conscious mind can be vivid, optimistic, and brave for an hour. The subconscious, however, runs your default settings. If your subconscious is wired to scarcity, to stories of failure, it will sabotage. And that's why the real work is not only pushing with willpower, it is changing the software that runs while you sleep. You do that by feeding your subconscious consistent input: images, repeated actions, and tiny wins. When you perform a new action enough times, the subconscious no longer resists. It accepts it as the new normal. That's how you turn desire into habit. Don't misread this as soft psychology. This is engineering. Think of desire as electrical power, voltage, circuit, and conductor. Break any one of those components and the current fails. There is also a moral you must face: responsibility. Desire without taking ownership is theater. You can desire all night and still remain passive. Wanting is not a substitute for responsibility. If your desired future depends on conditions external to you, waiting for the perfect partner, the economy to turn, or someone else to validate you, you'll stay frozen. Take ownership of variables you control. Choose to move on what you can influence. Responsibility is the ignition key of desire. When you accept that outcomes begin in your hands, your mind stops hunting for excuses and starts creating solutions. Next, let's discuss the honest shapes of desire, intrinsic and extrinsic. Intrinsic desire is powered by internal meaning, mastery, purpose, identity. Extrinsic desire is powered by external reward, money, status, applause. Both are useful, but they behave differently. Extrinsic desire can grow fast and burn out faster. Intrinsic desire is slower burning but steadier. If you want endurance, find ways to thread intrinsic meaning into extrinsic goals. For example, if you want financial freedom, extrinsic, connect it to what that freedom will allow you to do, create, give, protect, craft. When you tie a paycheck to identity or mission, the fuel becomes sustainable. Now, a practical experiment you can start right after this video, the 7-minute desire audit. For 7 straight minutes, answer these 3 questions in writing, not typing, handwriting, because pen to paper locks cortical attention in a different way. 1. What exactly do you want? Be ruthless in specificity. Instead of, I want more money, write, I want an extra $3,000 per month within 12 months by creating a service I deliver twice a week. 2. Why does this matter? List 3 emotional reasons, not because it would be nice, but true anchoring reasons, so I can stop borrowing money, so I can spend focused time with my mother without anxiety, so I can stop feeling like I'm compromised every month. 3. What are 3 small actions you will do this week that directly move you closer to that goal? These must be concrete and trackable. Write it once tonight and read it tomorrow before your coffee. Repeat this for 7 days. This is how sparks become maps. Don't confuse intensity with wisdom. Many people conflagrate screaming excitement with deep desire. You can be loud and directionless. Real desire is disciplined. If Napoleon Hill taught persistence as a law of success, it's because persistence supplies the steady pressure that transforms a plan into reality. Persistence is not stubbornness for its own sake. It's consistent alignment of your machine with your map. When your actions align with your stated objective for long enough, outcomes start to bend toward you. There is another dangerous trap, the comparison trap. You'll meet people who appear to have effortless desire, the charismatic friend, the social feed star, and you will measure your furnace by their flame. Don't. You don't see their nights, their sacrifices, their quiet iterations. Desire is private work. It demands privacy to evolve. Protect your workflow from the glare of validation. When you build in secret, your progress becomes less fragile. Let's talk about language, because words matter. The words you use internally change the trajectory of your energy. Stop saying, I can't, like it's a fact. It's a temporary statement that organizes defeat. Replace I can't with I haven't yet found the method, or I will learn how. Dale Carnegie taught that how you speak about others and yourself shapes relationships and outcomes. Apply that to yourself. Speak as if you are already learning, already adjusting. Language is a signal to your subconscious. Now, the role of imagination is not daydreaming, it is rehearsal. The brain is lazy, but predictive. It prefers settled patterns. If you rehearse waking up early and doing focused work for 30 days in your mind first, the brain begins to accept it as plausible. The quality of your mental rehearsal matters. Visualize not the applause, but the specific acts. Your handwriting, your voice on the phone, the spreadsheet updated. That level of detail primes motor memory and reduces resistance when action begins. Also, learn to use friction strategically. Not all friction is bad. Some friction forces you to prove your desire. For example, if your aim is focused work, create a ritual that requires you to invest 2 minutes before getting into a session. Clear the desk, put away your phone, open the document. That small ritual is a gate that separates idle wanting from committed doing. A short truth about failure: it is not the enemy, it is the instructor. Desire that avoids failure is not big enough. When you desire something massive, you will test your limits and misstep. The point is not to avoid failure, but to make failure informative. Keep a small log. What worked today? What didn't? One adjustment tomorrow. That log trains you to respond. Good. You showed up. That's the first victory. Now we go beneath the surface and get surgical. How do you rewire the part of you that quietly resists? How do you transform fleeting hunger into a relentless engine? This section is about belief architecture, subconscious habituation, and subtle persuasion, first on yourself, then with others. If part 1 lit the spark, part 2 strengthens the wiring so the current flows clean and steady. Start with the single most overlooked fact. Beliefs are not truths, they are habits of thought. You inherited many of them from parents, teachers, scars, and social feeds. They arrived as stories and then autoplayed until they felt like facts. If your inner narrative keeps saying, "I'm not the type," or "this never works for me," it's time to treat that narrative as editable, not sacred. Edit it with evidence, not hope. Here's a practical method to change a limiting belief into a productive one. Find a recurrent negative statement you tell yourself. Write it down. Now look for real evidence against it. Even small, almost irrelevant examples count. You did something competent once. You learned a skill. You recovered from a mistake. Build a folder of counter evidence. When the old story replays, pull out the folder and read one item. Over time, those exceptions become the rule in your mind. This is not woo, it's retraining. But retraining requires repetition. Beliefs live in the subconscious because they are repeated patterns. You can use ritualized repetition to rewrite them. Pick a short affirmation that is specific and actionable. Not "I am successful," but "I complete one focused task before lunch every weekday." Say it, write it, and show proof by doing it. Proof matters more than phrasing. Language without action is theater. Action without reflection is blind labor. Combine both. You must also understand resistance as a signal, not an enemy. Resistance shows where your current identity and your desired identity disagree. When you feel pullback, ask, what smaller identity step would make this feel normal? If the leap from "I scroll at night" to "I work 3 hours every evening" triggers resistance, shrink the step to "I will work 5 focused minutes tonight." Small steps build identity increments. Each completed step tells your brain a new story. You are someone who follows through. Identity is not declared, it accumulates in microtransactions. Now let's make your environment an ally. Your environment is the silent architect of your desires. Remove obvious triggers that feed impulses and add triggers that cue productive behavior. If your phone is a loop of distraction, put it in another room during prime work hours. If your workspace is cluttered, clear 1 square foot and keep it clear. If food derails your energy, don't keep it in reach. Design friction into the bad and ease into the good. You won't be moralized into discipline, you'll be engineered into it. Next, social architecture. Humans are contagiously social creatures. Desire spreads through your network like a waveform. If people around you quietly accept mediocrity, your own standards will drip down. If you surround yourself with people who act on small wins and celebrate consistent progress, your own desires will sound more credible. You don't need permission to upgrade your circle. Find one person, online or offline, who is doing the kind of work you want and mirror their routine for a month. Borrowing structure is efficient learning. Accountability is the accelerator. Commit publicly to a small, measurable action for a finite time and ask someone to check in. But be tactical. Choose someone who will give honest pushback, not only praise. A calendar invite to a trusted peer with a weekly check-in will do more for your desire than 50 motivational videos. Accountability is not shaming. It is a mechanism that converts intention into scheduled reality. Now let's address the sabotage scripts: perfectionism, procrastination, and the fear of looking foolish. Perfectionism disguises itself as high standard, but its true function is avoidance. It keeps you busy with endless drafts so you never ship. Reframe perfectionism as an early warning that you need clearer constraints. Set rules like publish a test version after 3 edits, or limit review to 1 hour. Procrastination is often an emotional management problem, not a time problem. If you procrastinate, ask what emotion you're avoiding and design a small ritual to handle it. A 2-minute breathing reset, a 60-second setup, or a quick micro reward after completion. Ego management matters too. Desire often gets hijacked by the temptation for immediate approval. You'll chase visible wins and neglect the quiet work that compounds. Ask yourself, am I doing this for the signal or for the system? If it's the signal, redesign to hide the early stages of work from the feed. Work in private until the work can stand on its own. This protects your desire from becoming vapid performance. A powerful lever is to re-anchor desire to identity. Instead of saying, I want to write a book, say, I am the type of person who writes regularly. Identity anchors motivate behavior because your brain seeks coherence. The clearest way to change identity is to win tiny, consistent battles. If you want to be a fit person, show up for 5 minutes of movement daily until that's automatic, then expand. Measurement is another critical habit. You can't improve what you don't measure. Choose a single metric aligned with your desire and track it daily. Make the metric simple and binary if possible. Did you do the action today? Yes? No? Simplicity prevents decision fatigue and gives you an objective pulse. Over time, the weekly trend is more informative than daily noise. Use the trend to adjust your map, not to scold yourself. Let's talk about momentum and the power of sequencing. Sequence your actions so each step scaffolds the next. Don't scatter your energy across 10 beginnings. Chain small tasks into a sequence that creates flow. Start with the task that reduces friction for the next one. For example, if you need to do creative work, sequence a quick preparation, clear desk, a short warming exercise, 5-minute free writing, then the main task. The warm-up primes focus. The sequence reduces the chance of wandering. You also need a recovery plan because desire is energy, and energy fluctuates. Don't treat every dip as failure. Build cycles of intensity and rest, blocks of concentrated work followed by restorative practices. Sleep, nutrition, movement, these are not optional. When your body is taxed, desire will leak like water from a cracked pipe. Fix the pipe by prioritizing basic health first. Now, persuasion, the gentle art of getting yourself and others moving. Dale Carnegie taught that influence begins with sincere interest and alignment. Apply this to your inner coaching. Instead of coercing yourself with harsh demands, find the hidden alignment. Ask, how does this action connect to something that matters? If the connection isn't visible, invent a bridge. Once you align the small action with a larger value, your inner resistance softens. Use milestones not as arbitrary stops, but as narrative beats. Each milestone should tell you a short story. This month, I learned X. Celebrate small wins, not with a binge, but with a signal that reinforces identity. Mark it in a journal, tell one honest friend, or adjust your tracker. Celebration encodes the win into your memory and makes future behavior more likely. A practical routine to apply tonight. Write down one limiting belief, list 2 small pieces of contrary evidence, Commit to one tiny action for tomorrow that embodies the opposite belief, and set a single metric to track for 7 days. Then, pick one accountability partner and tell them your plan. That short chain will begin to change the substrate beneath your desire. Finally, cultivate quiet conviction. Desire should not be a showy roar. It often works as a low, stubborn hum that outlasts storms. People who last are not always those with the loudest beginnings. They are those who keep showing up, then adjust when necessary, and protect the process from the noise of immediate validation. As you move forward, be ruthless with clutter, mental and physical, and generous with focused time. Your inbox, your notifications, your obligations will always try to dilute your fuel. Choose what matters with an economy of attention. Every yes to something trivial is a no to your main desire. We are approaching the point where desire meets strategy. Part 3 will give you the tactical scaffolding, how to translate this strengthened internal architecture into a clear plan with milestones, resource maps, and deliberate timelines. For now, do the small things. Adjust one belief, set one metric, and tell one person. Desire grows when fed with proof. Keep feeding it. Now you take the strengthened wiring and make it into a map you can follow every day. This part is about turning inner readiness into an outward plan that bites, that you can measure, adjust, and scale. Desire without a plan is like a rocket without a trajectory. Loud potential, no destination. You already have the spark and the wiring. Now you'll learn the scaffolding that makes desire predictable. Start by reverse engineering the outcome. Pick one specific result you want in the next 90 days. Not vague, exact. Picture the number, the deliverable, the state. Then ask, what would need to be true 1 month from now, 2 months from now, and 90 days from now for that result to be inevitable? Break the 90-day horizon into 3 milestones. Make each milestone a concrete checkpoint, not a wish, but a proof point. If your goal is to launch a service that brings $3,000 extra a month, your month 1 milestone might be 3 paying pilot clients. Month 2, repeatable delivery system and second revenue channel. Month 3, sustained $3,000 per month. These milestones give you traction and tell your brain the project is real. Once you have milestones, build a backward plan. Start at the 90-day finish line and ask what must happen the week before to make that milestone possible, and the week before that until you hit today. Backward planning forces you to think in dependencies rather than wishful thinking. It shows the non-negotiables. If you find a gap you can't fill, find a smaller milestone that reduces that dependency. The purpose of a plan is not to be perfect. It's to expose the smallest next credible action. Next, resource map everything. Resources are time, money, relationships, and attention. For each milestone, list what resources you need and what you already have. Time is the most precious. Convert your weekly hours into a budget. If you have 10 hours a week, allocate them intentionally. 3 hours for revenue-generating work, 4 hours for skill development, 2 hours for outreach, 1 hour for administration. You must be brutal in this tally. What you budget is what you produce. If money is required, list the minimum viable investment and alternative low-cost experiments you can run first. Use relationships like leverage. Who can introduce you to customers, give quick feedback, or trade help with a skill you lack? Design experiments, not declarations. Every plan should be a series of short experiments with clear hypotheses. Instead of promising, I will make $3,000, test, if I offer this 4-week pilot package to 20 people, at a 15% conversion, I will sign 3 paying clients. Run the experiment, measure, learn. Treat failure as data. Did the offer land? Was the price right? Did the messaging resonate? Experiments accelerate learning and protect your desire from slow, expensive collapse. Time blocking is your operational muscle. Schedule your highest leverage work into immovable blocks and treat them like appointments with a client, non-negotiable. Use theme days if that helps. 1 day for creation, 1 for outreach, 1 for admin. Theme days reduce context switching and compound deep work. Also protect a morning routine that primes you, a short rehearsal of your desired identity, a quick audit of your day's single most important task, and a 2-minute setup ritual that makes starting easier. Create feedback loops with weekly and monthly reviews. Every week, run a 15 to 30-minute review asking 3 questions. What went well? What did I learn? What will I change next week? Every month, run a 60-minute strategy session. Measure your metrics, reevaluate resource allocation, and adjust timelines. Feedback loops keep your map honest and prevent procrastination from morphing into rationalization. They transform desire into iterative progress. Pick one single metric that matters and protect it. If your aim is growth, the metric might be new leads per week. If it's productivity, it might be hours of deep work per week. Don't chase vanity numbers. Choose one metric that is closest to the action that produces the desired outcome and make it sacred. Track it daily with a simple yes or no or a small tally. Simplicity wins because complexity breeds delay. Build a kill switch and a contingency plan. Not everything you try will scale. Decide in advance how long you will attempt an experiment before you stop or pivot. Pre-specifying exit conditions saves emotional time and preserves your energy for the next test. Contingency plans don't mean pessimism. They mean you respect reality and design for resilience. If a channel dries up, where will you go next? If your best client cancels, what are 2 backup revenue options? You'll sleep better and move faster when you foresee plausible snarls. Delegate and automate where possible. Desire often collapses under the weight of grind that could be outsourced. List tasks that must be done personally and tasks that could be delegated. If your time is worth more during focused work hours, delegate social media posting, bookkeeping, or repetitive admin. Use simple automation for repetitive tasks, calendar templates, canned email replies, basic scripts. Free up concentrated blocks for the work that only you can do. Scale through systems, not heroic effort. When you design repeatable systems for onboarding a client, for creating content, for sales outreach, each iteration becomes easier. Systems allow desire to be multiplied across projects and people. Document your processes in bite-sized steps so you can delegate or replicate them quickly. When you capture the process, you capture leverage. Design your communication strategy. Desire often needs to be sold to customers, partners, or even to your future self. Craft a short, clear value proposition you can say in 1 sentence. For internal communication, your future self, write a 1-sentence reminder of why this matters and put it where you'll see it daily. For external communication, test 3 headlines and track which attracts attention. Good messaging shortens sales cycles and reduces friction. Protect your energy economy. Everything above assumes you have the fuel to execute. Schedule recovery as part of the plan. Sleep, movement, brief resets during the day, and a weekly low-tech evening. Treat energy like budget. Don't spend it all early on trivial things. The biggest strategic advantage you can create is consistent, high-quality energy over months. Build accountability architecture that makes sense for you. That could be a weekly peer call, a public commitment, a small paid mastermind, or an automated tracker that nudges your accountability partner. Choose a structure that stretches you but is sustainable. The right accountability partner will ask hard questions and celebrate small wins. Now, concrete scaffolding you can apply tonight. Write your 90-day outcome in a single sentence. Break it into 3 monthly milestones. List the 3 resources you need. Pick the single metric you will protect and schedule your first 3 time blocks for this week. Make those blocks non-negotiable. Then design one small experiment you can run this week to test a risky assumption. Publish nothing yet, just run the experiment, gather data, and adjust. A sample 90-day sprint might look like this. 0 to 30 days, validate.
Run 3 low-cost experiments to assess market interest and pricing. 31 to 60 days, refine. Choose the highest converting experiment, optimize delivery, and start consistent outreach. 61 to 90 days, scale. Systemize delivery, hire or automate one repetitive task, and push for consistent revenue reflective of your target. Each 30-day window is a mini-season with a clear theme. Validate, refine, scale. Remember to lock in small victories. After any experiment or completed milestone, record a short note. What changed? What you learned? One improvement idea. These micro-archives are your proof and your fuel. When discouragement creeps in, review these notes and watch the trend line of progress. That trend will teach you more than any pep talk. Lastly, marry strategy with humility. Napoleon Hill wrote about persistence because he knew the path is long. Earl Nightingale spoke of thought-shaping results because he understood inner clarity precedes external order. You will need both persistent, disciplined action and constant refinement of thought. Be humble enough to iterate and stubborn enough to stay committed. Finish this section by committing to a single auditable action you will do within the next 24 hours that directly moves you toward your 90-day milestone. Put it in your calendar now. That single action is the line between planning and momentum. Plans without action are comforting fantasies. Action without plan is random motion. Combine them, and desire becomes a machine that produces the life you intended. Now we will integrate these tactical systems into long-term habits, environment, and relationships so your achievements are sustainable and aligned with who you want to be. For now, pick your 90-day outcome, put the first time block into your calendar, and run one experiment. Make today the first real footstep on the map you just built. Now, you put it all together. Desire as a lifelong engine, not a sprint. This final section is about scaffolding the life you're building so the momentum doesn't evaporate when pressure comes. We'll lock in systems, shape your environment, design relationships that amplify, and create a rhythm that makes sustained achievement feel normal. Everything you've done so far, the spark, the wiring, the map, must survive real life. That's what this part is for. First, think in seasons. High intensity, laser focus, and deep experiments have their season. So does consolidation, maintenance, and celebration. You'll burn brightly during sprints and need quieter windows to integrate gains. Plan your year with alternating cycles, 8 to 10 week sprints followed by 2 to 4 week consolidation windows. During a sprint, you test and push. During consolidation, you systematize, document, repair your energy, and celebrate the wins. Seasons protect desire from chronic depletion. They give you permission to oscillate without shame. Next, lock in rituals. Rituals are the heartbeat of long-term habit. A ritual is not a goal, it's a repeatable process that becomes non-negotiable. Choose small daily anchors that align with your identity and priorities. A 5-minute morning clarity check, a 30-minute focused work block at your peak hour, a nightly 2-minute review of one win and one lesson. Keep rituals short and sacred. When life gets noisy, rituals are the scaffolding that keeps your machine running. Design your physical environment to default to the behavior you want. Visual cues matter. Keep the tools of your craft visible and accessible, and the temptations out of reach. If you want to write every day, place your notebook and pen on the table where you can see them. If you want to exercise, put your workout clothes next to the bed. This is not about extreme austerity, it's about smart architecture. Environment is like gravity for behavior. It either pulls you toward your goals or away from them. Create a guardrail schedule. Guardrails are boundaries you set to protect your highest leverage time. Define hours that are off limits for shallow tasks and communicate them to your people. For example, block morning hours for deep work and mark them as do not disturb. Put a short status note in your communication channels that says, "Deep work until 10:30, urgent only." Guardrails are not rigid prisons. They're respectful contracts with yourself that tell the world how you work. Now, relationships, your social architecture. People will either amplify or erode your desire. Choose allies intentionally. Find a mix, a challenger who calls you out, a mentor who's been there, and companions who celebrate the small wins without turning them into noise. Don't mistake surface encouragement for structural support. Real support shows up with time, accountability, and useful feedback. Invest in relationships that trade in truth and mutual growth. Teach your closest people your process. If you are building something significant, explain it simply. The outcome, the milestones, your non-negotiable work windows, and how they can help or not get in the way. When your partner or friend understands your rhythm, the daily frictions drop. This is practical persuasion in service of desire, a Carnegie-like respect for mutual understanding applied to your inner circle. Protect your attention economy ruthlessly. Not all time is equal. The scarcity you must defend is high-quality attention. Audit where your attention leaks, meetings that could be emails, endless scrolling, low-value social noise. Design a minimal tech hygiene, notification triage, batch processing for messages, and single-tasking blocks. Your attention is the short path between thought and action. Guard it. Create gradual scaling rules. When something begins to work, don't scale at full speed blindly. Use ratio rules. For every new thing you add, test a small increase and measure the impact on your energy and output. If client volume doubles, test whether you can preserve quality by adding a small system or a helper before taking more clients. Scaling is the art of preserving the engine as you grow the load. Plan for relapse, not as failure, but as a normal part of long journeys. Even trained systems will sag. When you dip, have a pragmatic restart ritual. 1 day of zero judgment, 1 hour of review, 3 corrective micro-actions, and a scheduled call with an accountability partner. Make your restart routine lean and mechanical. That way you reduce the friction of re-entry. Expecting relapse and planning for it keeps you from catastrophizing small setbacks. Institutionalized learning. Keep a running file of experiments, outcomes, and lessons. After each experiment, capture 3 short items: what changed, why it mattered, and the next micro-adjustment. Over months, this archive becomes a custom repository of what works for your context. When doubt creeps in, flip through those notes. They are objective fuel when feelings fail. Protect your health like a non-negotiable strategy. Sleep, movement, nutrition, and stress recovery are not extras. They are primary support systems. A person with day-to-day energy will out-execute brilliant plans run on willpower. Schedule sleep hygiene, short movement breaks, and a weekly low-tech reset. These keep your desire from bleeding into exhaustion. Pay attention to money as a lever. Financial stability reduces noise and gives you options. Even small buffers change behavior. An emergency fund, a subscription for a tool that saves hours, a modest investment in learning. Money is a tool. Use it to buy back time and focus when it matters most. Budget for strategic investments that multiply your capacity. Ritualize reflection. Once a month, run a 60 to 90-minute retrospective. Review metrics, celebrate progress, diagnose leaks, and set one clear priority for the next month. The habit of reflection converts random activity into purposeful progress. It keeps your map current and your machine calibrated. Identity at the heart of your system. Reassert who you are through small acts. If your identity is person who ships work weekly, then ship something small every week. If it's person who supports others, then make a weekly outreach. Identity is not a slogan, it's the daily ledger of tiny acts that add up. Now, a tactical 30-day consolidation plan you can put in your calendar today. Day 1 to 3, audit and prune. List commitments, cancel or pause 2 low-value items. Set your non-negotiable deep work window. Day 4 to 10, Ritualize. Set a 15-minute morning anchor and a 10-minute nightly review. Do them daily. Track 1 metric each day. Day 11 to 20, Systemize. Document 1 repeatable process and create a checklist. Outsource or automate 1 task that drains time. Day 21 to 27, Scale cautiously. Increase a successful action by 20% and measure the effect on quality and energy. Day 28 to 30, Reflect and plan. Run a monthly retrospective, capture 3 lessons, and set the top priority for the next 30 days. Finally, a direct call. Commit to a concrete 7-day proving period right now. Choose 1 single metric tied to your 90-day outcome. For the next 7 days, do 1 auditable action each day that moves that metric. No exceptions. Track it like currency. If you win that week, extend to 4 weeks. If you fail, run your restart ritual and begin again with ruthless clarity. Remember the quiet lessons from those who came before. Napoleon Hill insisted on the persistence of purpose. Earl Nightingale taught that what you think about concentrates your life. And Dale Carnegie showed that influence flows from sincere alignment. Use their insights as tools, not idols. The work is yours. Your desire is no longer a vague wish. You've been given scaffolding, seasonal cycles, rituals, environment design, social architecture, metrics, scaling rules, and recovery protocols. Now apply them with patience and urgency. Act like the person you're becoming, not the person you were. Make 1 auditable move in the next hour. Schedule your deep work block, send that accountability message, write your 90-day sentence, and then keep making those moves. This is not the end. It's the beginning of steady motion. Desire will test you, the world will distract you, and doubts will visit. When they do, return to the small, repeatable processes you've built. Let your life be the accumulation of deliberate days. You don't need more motivation, you need better systems and the courage to follow them. Start now.